What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back again after watching another Premier League defeat. Tottenham 0, Crystal Palace 2 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Our first game since going through to the final in Bilbao on Thursday. It was a warm welcome from the team, from the fans. The atmosphere was, I saw, buzzing during before the game. Everyone excited. The fact we got we got a European final to look forward to next week. But the game wasn't great, let's be honest. It's been very similar to our other Premier League games in recent weeks, or for a lot of this season. Our 20th Premier League defeat. I'm here with Ashmatic from Spurs Kings TV for the instant match reaction. What can we say? Eze gets the double, very comfortable. Palace controlled it. I mean, when you look at like this game, how do you assess what you saw? Is it a case of, you know, Tottenham making 8 changes and that's what led to a disjointed performance and the fact we're focusing on Europe? Or is it, you know, you could argue Palace got their own things to focus on. So is that an excuse to have this kind of performance?
This is it, Sim. I think it's a mixture of all the above, because the goals we conceded was like copy and paste. Mm-hmm. Always down a particular side, lapses of concentration. And I said it before, the actual goal, if you actually watch it back, it's one of our defenders, fullbacks in particular, jumping. Instead of the midfielder jumping, it's the fullback that jumps. And that creates all of the space in behind for them to go and attack. And so this is clearly something that was spoken about before a game as a strategic move, in my opinion. Because it wasn't only once we conceded it, same goal, we conceded it twice. And we've seen this throughout the Premier League season. And if take those goals away, the chances they had all came down from that same side as well. Mm-hmm. So then people will say, oh, is it the player? You know, it's the player's fault for, you know, lapses of concentration. But the fact that he's asked to press so high up, for me, is more of a tactical instruction as opposed to the player doing what he wants and getting it wrong. So that's my overall analysis of it. But again, you have to say that we did make eight changes before the game.
And also with Decky going off injured early, which could be a nightmare. Yeah. We had 4 teenagers on the pitch.
4 teenagers.
You know, against Palace side, who, yes, made a couple of changes. By and large, it's most their first choice 11, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you're right. At the same time, a lot of fans did want to see some of these players in their so-called right positions. And those teenagers, we got to see them in those positions. And unfortunately for us, we got to learn a lot about some individuals in certain positions. And is it good enough? Is it Premier League level where we want to be in the top 6? That's what's up for debate, in my opinion. It's early, it's late in the season, but earlier in some of these lots' career. And the argument is, but they're young, potential. And if we're going to keep with that kind of mindset, are we then saying that, you know, the league isn't as important? Are we expecting next season for us to
Well, right now it's not as important.
No, right now, but I'm saying in terms of potential, does that carry on into next season? Do we keep saying more potential? Because some of the players that we've been linked with are more youngsters. Mm-hmm. For example, Dibbling. And I know we're probably going down that eccentric youth route where, you know, it's Tottenham Project FC kind of, that's what we're trying to do. But at the same time, that may cost you during the league unless some of these players can develop quite quickly. And that's what you have to weigh yourself up with now, I think, if we're going to continue with it. And as I said before, you're looking at players like Son, because Son did come on, he's experienced. And I said, even before his injury, he didn't have the greatest of form going into things. He's been battling, in my opinion, to get back to his old self. Some people will say, you know, he's been played out of position. That's why his performances haven't been so great. Either way, he's meant to be our leader. He's meant to be our captain. He's meant to be the talisman. And if you look at the numbers, 11 goals, 11 assists, 22 goal contributions in total, you'd say that's not bad. It's not one of his best seasons, but at the same time, you look at this game in isolation, and when he did come on, I felt like if you're going to be the front man, you've got to lead the line well. You've got to make important runs. So players can get their heads up and find you in that space. And then in terms of your link-up play, you need to find players and bring them in. And then when you do get your chances in, you need to get a shot off. And the one chance he did kind of have, it was too predictable in my opinion. There was no disguise on the shot. There was no, trying to get away from the player, separate himself from his player and get a shot off. So for me, it was like, I don't know, being quite harsh here on them. But it's just the reality at the moment that we have to have that kind of conversation.
Son definitely struggled. I'm just watching a Guard of Honour Arsenal giving Liverpool. That's just being a bit of a smile on my face at the moment. Something we can enjoy while watching these terrible performances
100%.
in the Premier League right now. Clearly, it's so obvious right now. The focus is just totally on that final. I think you can see the players, they're really struggling to get up for these games. Not only are we struggling to get up for it, but also making lots of changes. We're very disjointed. The team has got clearly very little familiarity. It was a hard watch. And 2-0 flattered us, let's be honest. It did, didn't it? It could have been a lot worse than 2-0. They were cutting for us so easily. Eze was getting all sorts of joy in the middle of the park. We, for a lot of the game, were just lumping the ball forward and hoping rather than playing any sort of football. Muniz was having so much joy down that right-hand side. He was constantly in acres of space, like he never wasn't in acres of space essentially down the right-hand side. It was every time they got the ball, they were looking for him because he just knew he was going to be free. And more often than not, they were able to get him in really good positions and get him in on that right. And he created so many chances and should have scored himself. Eze got that brace. Really, it was obviously from his point of view a good brace, but two very easy goals. One of them from Munoz. I think, did Munoz assist both? No, Saad assisted the second, but Munoz passed it for an open goal for the first one, and they found Saar in behind, and he squared it for Eze for a comfortable finish for the second. And they had 2 goals ruled out for from VAR in the first half as well. Spurs, from our point, it rarely threatened this Palace team. The closest we got was maybe Porro had a free kick which went just over the bar. Mikey Moore nearly got on the end of an Odegaard cross. One positive, it's a very small positive, but one thing that was a bit of a positive was I did feel when Odegaard went into the 10, he looked quite bright in that position.
Yeah, he's played there before, hasn't he?
Yeah, I thought he was a small positive, I would say.
And he was popping up into spaces where he was showing himself, getting on the ball, trying to make things happen. And But the only criticism I have, and I said to you in the stream, is it an instruction for them not to shoot? Because there's times where they're in a central area and it kind of opens up for them. And then the next action is they're kind of passing it towards the flanks instead of being on the edge of the D, saying, "Oh, let me have a crack here. It might deflect." And then also in the central area, it's not just on the 10 to kind of shoot. It's also for them to create, but for them to create, the forward player, whether that be the striker or the left forward or the right forward, because I think Ange plays a front three of strikers. He doesn't rely on one striker to get the goals. Almost like the one forward, he's the one that kind of drops into midfield at times and he rotates into the 10 and he kind of, links the play at times. So sometimes the forward won't get all the goals, but the other 2 forwards, they're meant to be like strikers rather than like just creative outlets. But either way, I didn't see any runs into the box from those forward players once the 10 Odegaard was on the ball to kind of him to thread through, if that makes sense. And then, okay, if you're saying that the front 3 are meant to be wingers or touchline wingers, then the creativity, they need to get a lot more balls into the box, whether it be crosses and early, which one ball, like you said before, did go into Saar and he got the header. And I said, if that was a Richarlison, maybe that goes in. I thought that substitution, in my opinion, instead of it, Son, I'm not mad at Son coming on, but I would have liked Richarlison on to become like, the focal point, something to aim for. I wouldn't want to risk Solanke, but you've got 2 centre forwards there. Why not use one of them and then use Son to kind of run off one of them? Do you know what I mean? Run in behind Well, I know we don't play like that. We like to have our forwards a little bit wider, a bit more width to stretch the pitch, etc. But yeah, it's just like I was saying before, the fullbacks for me, I thought maybe we could reserve some of them and maybe not make them jump so early and be so, I know it's the same conversations, but
No, it wasn't wrong with ours of that. I just can see who he's lining up. I think you could see though, even today, like Bentacle came off at half time, Porro came off on the hour. Like we're just managing this squad in all gearing up to one specific game. So as much as I'm angry, I'm frustrated, and it's horrible. It's painful to watch these games, and it's horrible to watch them and to suffer so many defeats. And it's painful to go sit through all these Premier League games. We've got one mission to do, and that's winning Bilbao. And I think that is what we're all gearing towards. And at the moment, it's like these Premier League games seem to be sacrificial lambs at the altar of the Europa League, it seems. And if we don't win that Europa League, this season goes down as our worst probably in history. But if we get over the line, none of this is all going to matter in the grand scheme of things, because if the objective at the beginning of the season was to get in the Champions League and win a trophy, winning that Europa League kills two birds with one stone, and that's the reality. So I can understand the temptation and the willingness to kind of bin off these Premier League games in search of glory. Doesn't really make it any less painful though when we're watching it, and we're being subjected to these really abject performances where the players don't seem to really give a toss. We're just basically losing games left, right, and centre, and it's kind of we're putting up with it at the moment, and I don't really know what else we can do. Like we can't really play a much stronger team unless because if he does, even if we win the game, if we pick up an injury, everyone's going to give him pelters. We did pick up an injury with Decky, and like hopefully he's okay. We don't know anything. His reaction to it makes me seem that hopefully it's a precautionary thing, but we don't know yet.
So are you saying with the starting 11? Because I think that's the narrative now. With the starting 11, do Spurs have a different result against Palace at home? Probably,
or a different performance. I would say it's much more of an even game. We got absolutely bad. Like let's be honest, this looked like a top team versus a relegation fighting team. That's what it was. That's what it looked like to me. Palace were dominant in all facets. They were dominating possession. Not only were they dominating possession, they were finding it easy to cut us open. They were holding us at arm's length. For Guehi, Richards were so dominant. That back three was so dominant in the back. Tell, Odebear, and Moore barely had a sniff. Moore struggling to get involved in the game. The only one who I thought who was looking all right at times was Odebear when he moved into the 10. So that was the only time.
So does that mean
Gray struggled badly in midfield?
Does that
really
mean
badly?
Those players aren't good enough. Then is that what we're saying?
I wouldn't say.
We can't have it both ways. We can't say that if we had the stronger team out, they would have done better. But then I
think collectively it's not good enough when you got 4 teenagers and you got a much changed team, and you got Davis and Dancer at the back, and you've got Gray as a teenager in the middle of the park, coupled with Moore as a teenager, Tell as a teenager, Odebear as a teenager,
that was our
all of it together. But I'm saying if you put it all together with no experience, and also the fact that they've barely played together, all these players, it was very, very disjointed. It leads to the absolute shit show that we saw. Today in terms of how much of a mismatch in quality it was between us and Palace. If they change a lot of players, then it would be less understandable. But the fact that they had a very settled 11 on their team, so their 11 knows what it's doing by and large. It's going to be very close to the 11 they play in the final next week that they play today. It'll be very close. So that was their first choice team, and I think it would have been different if we would have played our first choice 11. But we were never going to do that under the circumstances, and I think it's understandable in my opinion. But doesn't mean that I watch these games and I'm happy with what I'm seeing, or that I enjoy it, or that it's acceptable, or anything like that. But at the end of the day, what else are we supposed to do right now in terms of selection wise?
Yeah, no, my question was, are those, you've answered it anyway. I was just asking if those players were good enough, because I said,
right now, to be winning games consistently, no, they're not.
That's all.
Yeah. Look, if you play some of these players in a more settled team, they'll look different. But you put them all together in a mishmash like today, you're going to get the performances like today. And it was an absolute mishmash. And it was hard to watch. We were awful. But I'm kind of numb to these defeats at the moment. We've had so many, and it's like after every game, after every defeat, you'll get the clamour of about Ange Postecoglou, and he's got to go. I'm seeing people in the chat. Some people in the chat, he's got to go before the final. Sack him before the final. I'm like, get a grip, guys. Get a grip. We've got a massive final coming up. He's led us there. We deserve to be there. We've been brilliant in Europe, and if we win that Europa League, it's the biggest trophy we've won in my lifetime. First European trophy in 4 years. So that is rightly where the focus has got to be. That is what it's got to be. And look, the positive is we've got 2 more of these Premier League games to contend with, 2 more to sit through, and then this disaster of a Premier League season is going to be over. But if we win that Europa League, if we bring home a European trophy, if we get into Champions League for next season, then all of it won't be in vain. And that's all I've got to say on that.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
But in terms of where you sit on that, people are saying sack Ange before the final.
No, that's way too extreme. I think there's 2 extremes. I feel like there's an Ange FC, and then there's Tottenham supporters, and then there's people with agendas that, see, I told you so. And I think people get whirlwind into either side, if that makes sense. Where some people kind of sit in the middle of it all, and unfortunately, like kids, with 2 parents arguing, sometimes that kid turns out to be a brat, when mum's not happy with dad. But anyway, I just think, we're in a weird situation, and you're right, it's all or nothing on that cup. I said before the game, I was still on a high, and I said the result didn't really matter at the time to me, but you say it. When you say it and then you live through it, it's completely different. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm experiencing right now. I went to the players now, and I'm looking at players, and I'm like, are they quite good enough? Like Kulleski today.
He was fine, wasn't he?
No, I'm just saying, Kulleski today, obviously, he's coming off the back of not playing many games, and he looked a bit rusty. There was one shot where he spilt it, and I was like, oof, on another day, you get punished. Do you know what I'm saying? There was times when he went long, and I'm like, maybe not go long. Look at the players that,
We were constantly going long today, and it was like it wasn't
lazy. It wasn't just Kulleski. It was
I'm saying all the players.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't just him. It was other players as well. So I'm agreeing with you. But I'm just saying that sometimes you got to look at the players that you need to know your teammates. All right, it's a 50-50 draw here. I'm gonna kick it long into Tell or Odobert. Look how small Odobert is. Like you expecting him to win that. So it's those kind of like things,
and especially up against Lacroix. There's some of those physical centre backs in the league.
So then now I'm looking at him like a little bit sideways in terms of IQ, do you understand, and intelligence. Like you need to know when to go short, when to go long. Like, and that's what I've got to say on that. But you've got centre backs, you've got full backs. No one really stood out for me. Porro went off obviously in the second half. In the midfield, there was no balance. We were second to every ball. And then up front, we had no firepower. It was as simple as that.
Yeah.
And that was my assessment of it. And that's what I mean, without talking about the manager, without getting into tactics, just talking about individuals, that's where my head is. Because I'm looking at next season. I'm also like not just looking at today's game. I'm looking at where we heading as a club. Because the top 4, the top 6, always, like, we're Spurs fans. My ambition is that I still see my club as a top 6. And let's face it, you've got Aston Villa and Newcastle. I respect them a lot. And they're trying to muscle their way in. And Newcastle didn't get Champions League last season, but the season before last they did. Do you know what I mean? And now they're back, pretty much. So it's these type of questions I'm having in my head, and I'm like, we need to be serious come what may. And I'm having these kind of conversations, these difficult conversations going into the end of the season, into the summer window, to know that we're going to recruit right. And it's not all Project Youth. And that's why I was like, question marks and Tell, for example. But yeah, that's just me. That's what I'm going to say.
No, and that's fair enough. And I think we need more experience in that squad. We need a deeper squad. We need to stop relying as heavily as we are on teenagers. When we need, especially in games where you want to be able to trust players to step in and put in and the floor not to be so low when they step in. And at the moment it's being ruthlessly taken advantage of by opposition teams at the moment, especially when we do that and they smell blood a lot of the time. But
It's easy
I
3
agree.
points. It's easy.
It's easy 3 points.
Yeah, they look at Tottenham. They say, "Oh, we'll go and play Tottenham at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium."
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And we've got no fear factor.
No, nothing.
Nothing. Teams don't respect us, and we need to get back to that team where, we were ballsy. We're not easy to beat. Oh no, that Tottenham team, they're a headache. They're always pressing. They're aggressive. They're always winning the ball, etc. And I feel like we've lost our way a little bit.
And it's
now
apparently it's now officially our worst ever Premier League season when it comes to defeats. The amount 20 defeats. I think in terms of points wise, we're on 38. It's a good chance we end the season with 1 point per game in terms of the Premier League season. So it's not good reading whatsoever. And look, whatever I want to say about if we win Europa League and all this kind of stuff, he has to take also responsibility for the league campaign, 100%. And the fact that it's been so disastrous, obviously I don't think it's all on him, but I think I think a lot of it is, and I think he has to. It's under his stewardship. That's the reality at the end of the day. So it's another poor defeat. It's another defeat. We've been outdone, and it's another game where we just have to get through and try and put it to the back of our minds, because we got all geared towards that game against United in Bilbao.
Here's one for you. XG, mate. Spurs 0.8, Palace 3.83. There you go. Yeah. I know you love it XG, and that's why I brought
loving the XG. Yeah, no, it doesn't surprise me, and that's also not discounting two goals ruled out for VAR, which were close goals. Which were close. One of them just about hit Guehi's arm.
Yeah.
Mateta was just about offside.
Yeah.
So those were close. So it could have been a lot worse. 2-0. I think we got away with the 2-0 today.
Yeah, we did.
We got away with the 2-0. To be honest, it could have been a lot worse. But look, Bilbao, that's what it's all about. And that's got to be the constant message, is whatever happens, we got to make sure we're going into Bilbao in the most positive mood. And look, it doesn't help the mood when you're losing games in this manner and playing like this in the Premier League. It's not going to help fans feel good about the European final. But you just got to remember that in Europe, when we have played our first choice 11, we looked a lot different team. We looked a lot better. And we can still have glory this season, and it can still be a special end to the season. And lifting a trophy is nothing to be sniffed at. It's nothing to be ignored. It's nothing to be brushed over. That would be massive for this football club and for us as fans. So that's what we have to focus on, I think, moving forward. We've got one more Premier League game in between there. So let's just get through that Villa game without too much of a heavy defeat, and then it's all on Bilbao, and that's it.
Yeah.
All right, well, that is our instant match reaction to our 2-0 defeat to Crystal Palace at the Tottenham Stadium. What was terrible defeat, but that was our instant match reaction. Let's get into some super chats before we start bringing on the guests. We've got CCM28 says, glad we got to see a potential future manager, Pants, and don't care if he wins the weakest Europa League in 15 years. He's got to go. Glasner, would you be open to him?
Not mad at it. No, not at all.
I like him.
Not mad at it.
I like Glasner. I think he's a good manager.
Just won the Europa Cup.
He won Europa as well. I think he's a good manager. I'm a big fan of Ollie Glasner. I'm a big fan of his.
I know RB are interested, but they never got Champions League, did they? RB Leipzig.
No, I didn't.
Mathematically, they can't make it now.
Yeah, I think he's definitely one that should be considered. And Jin says, does anybody know how many games we've had this season without having to make a sub due to injury? Yeah, I mean, it's happened a lot, isn't it? It's probably more games we've had injuries than not, it seems. Although, positive news, Postecoglou, who's talking on deck, he said he should be okay. Just talking to him after, the medical team are not too concerned about him. It was just a knock.
Cool.
So let's hope that is true, because how many times have we seen Ange say something similar, and then all of a sudden 3 months later we get to see him. So let's hope it was all right. But look, now is your chance to have yours say about today, about the game, about how your feeling is to gearing up to the big Europa League final against Man United. How much importance you put on these Premier League games? Now is have your chance to have your say. And first off, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Box Office.
Jeez, in the house.
Alex, how are we doing?
You know what is lovely about going on shows? People say stupid things. Stupid things. And it's amazing. It's amazing how these things happen. You know what I mean? Because there was one thing you said is that I need to be happy, and then that Manny guy came on, and you're giving waxing lyrical, saying, "Oh, he's such a good call because he's such a great supporter of Ange and stuff like that." Yeah, this is why I
No, you
can't
should
see
be
why we
happy
don't.
that we're in a Europa. You seem happier today
You
than you were
should
on
be
Thursday.
happy. We should be happy.
You
And all
seem
the
happier
old,
today,
yeah,
Alex. You
should be
happier
happy
today.
and everything else, yeah. And then, oh, we should. I don't know why he's not getting any credit in the bank. Oh, why? Well, this is why. Yeah, this is why. Right? Okay, we beat Bodo Glint, which we expected to beat Bodo Glint. I don't want to hear the nonsense saying, "Oh, yeah, it was hard. It was so hard because we went over there." And if anybody was, like I said on my show, Mr. Box Office TV, who said that we're going to win Europa League, by the way, so I must be a happy clapper. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and this is not me angry, by the way. I'm just explaining it because people think I'm angry. You know what I mean? It's having character, having personality. Try it sometime. You know what I mean? You know. So when people say, "Oh, you know what? You should give him credit and everything else," even though we beat Bodo Glimt, which was so easy, by the way, because everyone was waxing lyrical. Well, we had an easy run.
Lazio didn't find it that easy.
Easy run. I don't
Lazio
care.
didn't find it so easy.
I don't care. We're told we've got great players like Bentancur, who was just doing his normal thing. Basuma's doing his normal thing. Romero's doing his normal thing. Yeah, right. But what do we do again? Go back to Ange again. It's just the same thing we've seen the whole season. The whole season. Oh yeah, see 6-yard box as well, Bob. You know what I mean? I would love to debate him because he talks absolute nonsense as well, by the way. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I'm sorry. I'm not hearing this nonsense anymore. You know?
What
He
nonsense?
needs to go. He needs to go
Before
after
the
this
final?
Europa League. It don't
Okay,
matter.
so you're going to give him the final?
No. He's got to go after the final. He's got to go because this is not changing next season. It's going to get worse. Players are not going to improve. We're not improving.
So we'll get
we
relegated.
are not improving.
Will we get relegated next season?
Bro, I don't know if we'll get relegated. But if the teams are that bad from the Championship next season, I mean, we won't get relegated. But I mean, we can't carry on like this. We cannot carry on like this. Man United are not out of the woods either, by the way. Right? They shouldn't be taken away from criticism either, right? Because this is awful for them as well. But the fact that we are both in Europa League is an absolute travesty. The Europa League has not been great this season. It's not been great. And let's be honest here, we have been very lucky with the teams that we've got. By the way, like I said, I woken up after Frankfurt, by the way, because he knew what time it was. Yeah, it's not him with the tactics, right? His coaching staff are doing it, and the players are doing it. And it's quite obvious he's doing it. That's happening, right? Because the fact is, why is he not carrying on doing the same thing that he's done in Europa League? Why is he not playing Basuma and Bentancur the way that they were playing in Europa League?
Because we're resting players for the Europa League.
That's a load of crap. Because that's a load of crap.
It's not.
Bro.
It's not. Is it?
That's a load of crap.
It's not.
No, because he wants to go back to Ange because
wait.
that's
so Alex,
all he knows.
Alex, you think if we weren't in the Europa League final, that the lineup would have been the same today?
Well, no, yeah, well, I knew he was going to play the kids. Yeah, I knew. But
so that's why.
Really, but why is he playing Ange again? Why is he playing high line again? If it worked against Man City 4-0. Why did it work against Brentford 2-0? Right? If it worked against bloody Frankfurt? Right? Why if we're playing so great against Bodo Glimt? Why has he gone back to Ange again? And if it is him, he's the worst manager I've ever seen in my life. He's the worst manager I've ever seen in my life, then. Because he's obviously not there, technically there. Palace, right, I've got an FA Cup match 6 days away. And they play their full team. I knew they were going to play their full team because Glasner said straight away.
Did they play midweek?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter, Bob. Doesn't matter because I'm sorry, but Sim, if you're going to have the same energy, I want the same energy. If this manager stays next season, I want the same energy, right? When we're in Champions League, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's having a laugh at Aston Villa, yeah? What did Aston Villa do? They're playing their full team, not moaning.
Who's
They're
having
not moaning.
At Aston Villa?
But they're not moaning. They're not moaning, though, Bob. They're not moaning. They're playing Champions League every single week. Yeah, we're playing Europa League, which we're lucky.
Who's having a laugh at
So
them?
why are you giving excuses to this absolutely bang average manager? Why are you doing this for, bruv? I love you, bruv, yeah? As a personally, bruv. But football-wise, this is deluded. This is absolutely deluded. I'm sorry, bruv. Yeah, the flack you gave me on Thursday, you're telling me this. You're taking the mick out of me, bruv.
What?
You're taking the mick.
If what?
No way, bruv. I'm not having this manager taking the mick out of us anymore, bruv. You know what I mean?
Well,
He's been trolling us since bloody Frankfurt. He's been trolling us.
Trolling us, but
He's
could
been
give
trolling
us
us,
a
bruv.
European trophy. Could give us a
And
major
the
European
fact is,
trophy.
the idiot at the goal last season to tell us, oh, where's the mentality from the Tottenham fans after Man City? He had the gall, the absolute gall to say that we got, our mentality. Where's his mentality, bruv? Where's his mentality, bruv?
He always wins something in his second season. That's not a bad mentality.
That's all he's got. That's all he's got.
That's not a bad thing to have.
Hey,
No, he's chatting shit. He's chatting absolute rubbish.
If he wins
You know
that
what I mean?
trophy, then that's
Well, cool. He's
that's
the
will
most
be worth
successful
it.
manager in Tottenham's history. I've said it on my channel already. But bye-bye, goodbye, out the door. I've had enough of him. I'm sorry, I'm done with this guy. This guy has made me not go to games anymore, bruv. I've had enough of this idiot. You know what I mean?
Alex, you going to Bilbao?
Bruv, I can't go to Bilbao, bruv. Unfortunately, I can't. But that's another story, bruv. Yeah, I'm just milking Sim because he was chatting absolute rubbish on Thursday.
What?
You know what I mean? This is what happens.
What did I
This
say
is
on
what
Thursday?
happens.
What did
This
I
is
say?
what
I
happens
said
when you
you should have
chat
been
rubbish to me,
happy.
bruv. This is what happens when you chat
happened?
rubbish to me,
What
bruv.
happened?
This is what happens.
I knew we were going to
You know what
lose
I mean?
today. I knew we were going to
No,
lose today.
because I'm sorry, no, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. I'm not having
We
this
got a European
idiot
final.
of a manager chatting rubbish.
Wait, Alex,
where's this mentality for this guy, bruv?
slow down.
No, bro.
No, because you just said a few seconds ago, right? If he wins that trophy, he's going to be our most successful manager.
Yes, true, yes.
So
But it
on
doesn't
one
mean
side,
it should be this
so
crap.
you're saying potentially our most successful manager is an absolute idiot.
Yes, he is. He is an idiot. Because why is he not playing the same tactics that he played against bloody thing then?
Because
The same tactic. Why is he playing handball? Then Kulu gets injured all of a sudden. Nearly gets injured all of a sudden.
Because it was a rough challenge.
And then what does he do? Okay, this is really good though. Oh, what? Let's put all our first teamers on the sub bench, yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because we want to rest them, right? But even put Vicario on the bench, which makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense.
Well,
because
give Kinski a game. Well,
who
it doesn't even matter at this point.
Why does Kinski need a game for?
Why not?
Are we charity or something like, bruv? Are we a charity or something?
He's a good keeper.
Well, no, but it makes no sense, bruv. He's a goalkeeper. He can play. He can play every game.
He's a good keeper.
We got a game till bloody Aston Villa, bruv.
Alex, has Vicario been good in the Premier League recently?
It don't matter. He's our first choice. If he's our first choice, he can manage it. It doesn't matter.
Kinski should deserve a shot in the Premier League given
Vicario's
that's
a joke, bruv. Oh, come on
Why
now.
Is that a joke?
Why are you making excuses, Sim?
What excuses?
Why are you making excuses? You're making excuses.
Me and Ben have sat here saying we wouldn't mind Vicario being dropped for these games because he's been terrible in the Premier League.
Oh, this is where the mentality of our fans. I'm sorry.
Do you think Vicario's been bad in the Premier League recently, Ash?
I'm not mad at Vicario not.
No, I'm saying in the Premier League he's not been good recently.
No, he hasn't.
And I think Kinski deserves a shot at it.
Yeah,
he needed a break.
Quite a few fans wanted to see.
Wait, so Alex, what would
to protect Vicario, isn't it? They wanted Vicario to be protected for the final.
Yeah,
I think that's what people's thinking was. Going
Alex,
into the
what
game.
would your lineup be today then? What should it have been?
I would have played the same team
as against what today?
As Bodo, yeah.
Oh, it's Bodo.
I would have played the same team.
And if we would have got injuries, what would you have said then?
Tough luck. We need form. We need form. Sorry, I don't know what else to say. Obviously, like I'm not being funny. But being the worst season of how long, it must mean something to this manager. You know what I mean? It's embarrassing.
Absolutely. And if we win the first European trophy in 40 years, that must mean something to you.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, it's 50-50 still.
Yeah.
It's 50-50 still.
So
as far as I'm concerned, yeah.
He has to do it.
So he has to do it. But like I said, if he doesn't leave at the end of the season, right, we like he's gonna. Well, I think he's gone anyway because Prodigy's not gonna not put up with this. He ain't putting up with this. I'm sorry. I don't even like Prodigy, but he's not. He ain't putting up with this. He's the one that sat bloody Nuno, who he picked last time. So I'm sorry, he ain't putting up with this, right? So like, I'm sorry, he needs to go. He needs to go. I'm gonna have the same energy, right? I will celebrate when we win Europa League, right? Because I'm not gonna not celebrate
will you go
but
to
at
the
the
open
same
top
time,
parade? Will you go to
but
the
at the same time, I'm gonna have the same energy for this manager. He needs to go.
Wait, Alex,
right?
can I
He
can I
don't
ask
deserve any more than time than that.
If we win the trophy, will you go to the open top bus parade with an Ange out banner?
Well, I wouldn't do that because I don't think that's really appropriate. No, I wouldn't do that. No,
you wouldn't do that.
no,
Okay.
I wouldn't do that because I think there's times like the protest. There's times where you don't go there. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I've got the same energy because this manager has made me not want to go to games anymore, and that for me is dumb for me.
Do you want to go to Bilbao, Alex?
Bro, you know the conversation we had personally.
Do you want to go? Do you want to go?
You know the conversation we had personally.
If you could, would you
know
go?
the conversation we had personally.
If you could go, would you go?
You
would
asthmatic, you know the conversation we had personally.
I don't know what he's on about, honestly.
You know exactly what sort of conversations we've had already personally.
I'm
not going to go there
because
no one wants to see. I don't think your viewers
Bilbao?
deserve to have a nice Mr. Box Office, bruv. You don't want to see Alex be nice. You don't want to see Alex be nice.
Would you want to go to Bilbao if you could?
Bruv, you know any Tottenham fan would want to go to the Bilbao. You know
so you want
that.
to go to
you
that
know
game.
that.
So that's a game you want to go to.
You know that, bro.
That's a
you
game
know
you want
that,
to go
bro.
to.
But at the same time, don't try and change. No, don't do this. Don't do this, bro. Don't do this stuff. Don't try and change the subject, bro. You know what you're trying to do.
You're just planning a narrative. You stopped
you're trying to do. Anyway, bro, this is only supposed to be 5 minutes anyway. This is only been 5 minutes because other people need to have their time and sign. You know what I mean? It's Mr. Box Office TV, yeah. You know what I mean? But Sim, stop.
You missed it. Got cut off, man. Got cut off in his prime. All right. Let's get the next call on. Let's go Stelios. Another defeat and Stel's back on the channel. Big up, Stel. Stel, you're live.
Big up, Stel. What's going on, man?
The pain in between your eyes. You must have just been watching Tottenham, I'm guessing. I think you're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Go for it, bro.
Yeah. What the fuck is Alex talking about?
Oh, that's Alex for you. Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
No, it's insane. It's insane. I want Ange out, but give me a ticket for the final to support Ange's team. I want Ange out, but if we win it, I'll be at the bus parade. What are we doing? What are we doing?
There's a lot of fans in the chat saying sack Ange before the final. Sack him now. Sack him before the final. Yeah, I know. I know.
Listen.
Ange said it himself. Tottenham does crazy things to people, especially its own fans, I think.
Alex is a top bloke. If anyone meets him in real life, right, he's a top bloke. But this right now, I don't understand where he's going with it. If Ange wins the Europa Cup, you can't just want him out like that. You know, and I'm a staunch Ange out. I'm a massive Ange out. I don't think we're winning the Europa Cup. You know, I thought we'd lose to Frankfurt second leg. I thought Bodo would knock us out. And I'm going to say that I think United probably beat us in the final, but I'm still going to back the team. I'm going to Bilbao. I went to the semi-final and cheered on Spurs. I'm going to go to Bilbao. I haven't got a ticket, so I'll probably end up in the fan park, but I'll be there cheering them on. So it's a difficult one because for a lot of us fans, this football's awful, guys. Mm-hmm. It's not good at all. You know, today I'm watching a team where Archie Gray, he's not ready for midfield. He's not ready to be a midfielder in the Premier League, not at this level. He needs to go out on loan, or he needs to start every week to be developed. Mikey Moore, he's not ready. You know, he needs minutes to be developed. This start, play 1 game, don't play 5 games. This isn't how you develop a player. For me, Tell, I don't understand what fans see, the ones that praise him. You know, at Spurs, we've got this real weird habit of if you work hard, that means you're a good player. It's insane. If you make good runs or you put a lot of energy into the game, we suddenly make that average offering really promising, and we've got to want players like that at the club. If you said to me, give me a lazy player who scores you 2 goals in a game, or a hard-working player that doesn't score, doesn't create, I'll take the lazy player. And I think that's what we're doing with Tell. I don't get what he offers, guys. Again, Odebert today, yeah, some nice footwork, some nice little touches, but where's the end product? It's not there. I look at the midfield. Pape Sarr, he's an average footballer, guys, to me. He's an average midfielder. Ben Davies shouldn't be at the club. There's a lot of players on that pitch that I just look at and I think you shouldn't be at Spurs, or you're not ready to play for Spurs, or you still need to develop before you can play regularly for Spurs. And part of me, I think, what does Ange do with the players he's got? The other part of me says, other managers in the league, they get a tune out of far less quality. So what is it? Is it the players? Is it Ange? I think it's both. You know, Alex said one thing that I do agree with, where Ange is a bit more pragmatic and drops us a little bit deeper in Europa, whereas in the Premier League, he goes back to his Ange ball, and it's just a disaster, man. We were getting rinsed down Palace's right side. Munoz and Eze tearing Ben Davies and Spence to shreds, man. It was wave after wave after wave of attack. In the middle, ping it out wide, ball into the box. Could have been 3-4-0 down at half-time if it wasn't for VAR. And I'm sitting there thinking, but Kinski's not a bad goalie. Danzo's not a bad defender. Spence isn't a bad fullback. Bentancur's not a bad player. What's going on? And it's the tactics, guys. We're so wide open that any team that gets a foot in the midfield, any team that can control that midfield against Spurs will slice us open, because we leave gaps everywhere. When you've got a player of Eze's quality, mate, you're going to get punished. You know, that ball he played out wide for the counter-attack when they scored was quality, man. Is that, you know, that I'd love that at Spurs. A player like that constantly playing at Spurs. So what do you do, guys? Do you just dismiss the league and say, well, because we're in the Europa, fuck it. Just normalise losing. Sorry. It's okay to lose every single week because we're in the Europa. Because Crystal Palace, they're in an FA Cup final. They played their full-strength team today. They didn't rest players worried out.
They didn't play midweek, though, did they?
But they still played their full-strength squad before a cup final. I guarantee you, we're not playing midweek coming up. But when we play Villa, I bet you we rest almost everyone before the Europa final.
And said he's not going to do that.
Come on now.
That's
you
what he
think
said.
We're going to start that? Ange says a lot of things, Sim. Ange says a hell of a lot of things at this football club. And Ange said let fans feel whatever they want to feel. And when they feel upset, he starts arguing with them. Ange said that fans will decide whether he's been a success or not. And when fans say, Ange, we want you out, he throws a strop. So he says a lot of things, does Ange. You know, you've got to take what he says with a pinch of salt. And this, I win a trophy my second season. If that doesn't happen, well, that's another thing he said that doesn't really make sense. So if he wins it, though, like I said, we can't just shit all over the guy. I came on after the Bodo game and I said, if he wins this trophy now, I'm coming on here. I'm going to apologise to you. I'll take back the fact that I think that you take drugs.
Wait, but just going back to what you were saying about Palace, they played their full strength team. So do you think it was wrong of us to not do that? Is that your opinion?
I don't think there's a wrong or right. It's a results business. You're judged by results because what Ange Postecoglou has done is he's put the entire club on a knife edge. He's put the entire football club on a very, very, very wafer thin line between bust or boom. And Levy has stood by this madness because this is the reality. If we win the Europa, first European trophy in 4 years, first trophy in 16 years, Champions League football, the money that comes with that. And my God, you know we are going to take Arsenal fans to task. We are going to rinse the Gooners. So that's if you win. If you lose, no trophy for 17 years, 17th in the league table, which is going to be approximately £37 million down in Premier League prize money from what the club would have budgeted for next season, minus another minimum 20 million of revenue from not being in Europe. So now we're down around about £60 million on our transfer budget for next season. Some top players probably wanting out. This is the very, very, thin line that we're walking on, guys, because of this strategy of fuck the league, all in on Europa. It's very, very, very high risk, and it's put all of us fans on.
But still,
it's put us in a difficult place. It's put us in a difficult place as fans because we know this isn't good enough, but we also know we are one game away from fixing all the problems, almost all the problems, not all, but a lot of them could be fixed with this one win. But if you don't win it, you're fucked.
But I think the mentality of everything in Europa is only because we're in that position where we can't do anything in the league. I think let's say if we were still in a European challenge,
but Ange put us in that position.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying that's why though right now we are literally resting most of our team in the league and going all out in Europa because we can't do anything in the league. We're so far off it. So we kind of have to. It would be stupid not to in this situation. If we were still battling it out for Europe, then there would be more argument to not do that. But you kind of have to.
Yeah, but Sim, I'm going to go a little bit Sean Butler on you now, okay? The further down the league we fall, that's another £3.5 million of prize money we don't get towards the transfer kitty next year. So by just simply dismissing the league completely, we're hemorrhaging the ability to bring players in next season.
Yeah, but still, as someone who's massive on Inecan Levy out, do you care about that?
I care about better players coming to this club than what we've got. Yes, I do.
So all of a sudden, you care more about money than making sure we have a better shot of winning the trophy.
No. What I'm saying is there's a balance. There's a balance between focus on winning trophies, but the way we've just completely dismissed the league, I think you're misunderstanding me. I'm not saying don't play the weaker players. I'm not saying today play Van der Ven, play Romero, okay? What I'm saying is change your tactic, man. Why are you making us so easy to beat? Why are you making us such a... Was that a hard game? Did you feel like today was a tough game for Palace? Do you think they got out of second or third gear?
No, it was dead easy.
No, you could have made it a lot harder. Right. You're right. You could have made it a lot harder. Even if the second string players... This is what I'm saying. Could have...
But you see, Ash, this is the problem. This is what Ange and Levy have done to us this year. We're in a situation where... And I heard you say when you were chatting to Ilix, who the hell's Ilix? When you were chatting to Alex right before, you said to Alex, but I knew we were going to lose today, Alex. I knew. You've normalised the loss before we've played, as have I. I'm sure Ash thought, might be a tough day at the office today. A lot of Spurs fans didn't think we were going to win today. That means the players probably don't believe they're really going to win it. So this normalizing losing is then replicated on the pitch, where we should be making it hard for teams to beat. We should be changing our tactics and our formation to stop Crystal Palace from just that wave and wave and wave of attack down the wing. I'm sitting there going, this is insane, man. I feel like I was watching players on trial, not a Premier League game of football. And by doing that, we have collapsed down the league. For me, even with the injuries we've had this season, even with the challenges we've had, right, we shouldn't be worse than mid-table, guys. We shouldn't be worse than mid-table football.
I agree with it.
17th. It can't get any lower unless you're relegated. We are literally at rock bottom. And this is what they've done. They've basically said, fuck the league completely. Don't worry about winning another game again, but just focus on Europa.
Well, Ange, if you saw that little speech he did after the Bodo game, he pretty much said it. He said these next two Premier League games are so we can get ready for that final. He literally said it to the players.
Yeah, and so he's confirming what I've said. We've completely neglected the league and put the club on this very, very fine line where we are one game away from boom or bust. Whereas with Pochettino, we got to a Champions League final, but we were still guaranteed Champions League football even if we lost it. He still had the club in a safety net where we've still got a chance for the next season.
No, I understand that.
I look at it. Well, that's my point, Sim. This is my point. And he's made it difficult for me because I want him gone. I want Levy gone. I want everyone gone. You know me. I want the ground staff gone. I want the people that built the stadium gone. I want the car park attendants gone. I want everything gone, right? I want you gone. I want Ash gone. I want to go. I want to go.
Wait, go on.
No, it's all love. It's all love. You two can stay for now.
Were you at the game today, Stel?
No. It was my cousin's stag do last night, and I didn't wake up till about 1 o'clock. So bit of a heavy one.
The only reason why I asked is I was wondering if you heard anything about the protests. You know anything about how many people turned up or anything? I haven't seen any pictures or anything.
Yeah. The protest was very small. I think 50 to 100 people turned up. It wasn't a big show. But I'm definitely someone that thinks the protest should go ahead regardless because, and I've had these arguments with a lot of people, if you really believe in something, you don't pick and choose when to believe in it. And you don't pick and choose when you take action. Because at the end of the day, a couple of results shouldn't mean, right, don't protest. We're not protesting against the team. We're not protesting about the Europa Cup. We're protesting about the owners having the club in 17th place and potentially having no money for next season for transfers, and for the 25 years of what they've done to the club, the price we pay for what we watch. That's what we're protesting about. And like I was saying to some people, they were saying, but the timing. I'm like, what about the timing? It's a bad look. But when you protest, you shouldn't care what people think. If I go and protest, I don't care what someone thinks. I protest because I want it gone. So if people aren't going to protest now because they're worried of what other people will think, then do you really believe in it? And that's my take on it. I know a lot of people will disagree with this, and it's going to be a view that splits a lot of fans. But at the end of the day, you think about any protests out there, whether it's the suffragettes, like in recent times, Black Lives Matter. Right now, you've got protests on the streets of London for everything and anything going on in the world. At the end of the day, do you think these people, they care what others watching them think? Do you decide when it's right to protest for something because you're worried what others might think? Nah, not for me, guys. I think if you're going to protest, you should do it regardless because you believe in what you're saying. Otherwise, if Spurs win the Europa, then those protests are dead.
Well, today was a lot less than it has been in the last two protests, right? So is it not fair to say a lot of the people who went to the protests maybe agree that it probably shouldn't have gone ahead today? Or Well, you know, or are you upset that there was not that many people there today?
If people didn't go today, Sim, what do you think their reason for not going is?
Because we just got to a European final, probably, and they don't want any negativity, I guess, right now. They just wanted everything should just be positive towards the team at this current moment, I guess.
Negativity against who?
It's against the board, but it's still wanting someone out, wanting someone fired, wanting someone's head on a chopping block. That's not a positive thing, is it? It's a positive in terms of, yes, it could give us a new lease of life, blah, blah, blah. It's positive for the future of the club. I understand it. But I'm just saying it's not like you're not bringing happiness, are you, to the situation?
So is it a negative or not then?
I guess it can be perceived as a negative, put it that way.
I think.
Aha.
Yeah.
So exactly. So the perception means that you care what others think. And that's the point I made. If you care,
no,
others
it's not about others. It's about right now. They want to celebrate getting to a European final. They don't want to be talking about who's in, who's out, Levy out, all these things. Like, we're in the European final. Everything should be geared towards being positive around the team in the lead up to that final, I guess.
We had 2,000 fans protest at the last game against Southampton. Was it negative inside the stadium against the team, or did we cheer them on to a win? We cheered them on to a win.
Mm.
At the end of the day, for me, this all comes down to one thing. Do you care what others think? And I think, my personal opinion is, the majority of fans didn't turn up today because they're worried how they will look, that they will be called negative, they will be called toxic, they will be called all sorts of names. I've been there before, guys. You know, 5 years ago, there was 20 of us protesting.
Mm-hmm.
I got called every name under the sun. Then we went up to Hotspur Way. I think I went there twice. Brian Dagger was there with Ryan and Graham every day. We got called every name under the sun. Then a couple of years ago, we grew to 200. And a lot more people started talking about the protesters. But we still got all sorts of abuse online. Then there's 2,000. Suddenly, they're not so abusive now. But people were worried that they were going to get the abuse and negativity thrown at them if they protested today. And that's what again, this is just my view, guys. In my view, you can't allow others to dictate how you are made to feel. Either you back something or you don't. The best saying, something Ryan Isaac said, back the team, not the regime. I want Ange out. I want Levy out. I still want to support them in the semi-final. I'll still support them in Bilbao. Doesn't mean I don't want change. You can do both. And I think what's happened here with this protest, it was a situation where it's one or the other. You can do both. And I think that's what should have happened. So I'm glad the protest went ahead today. And I think the majority of fans that didn't turn up is because they're scared of what others think. Maybe it's just a trait. I've never been like that with these protests. I've never been worried what others think. I will do it because I really believe in it. So I do understand why some might not be used to the labels of you're negative, you're toxic, you support Chelsea and all that shit.
Okay.
If you're not used to it, I get it. I'm used to it.
Let me ask you, Stel. Let me ask you this, Stel. Put that to the test. I want to put what you're saying to the test. If we won the trophy,
why do I feel you're about to throw a curveball at me?
It's not. I'm just asking. This is a question. If we won,
this is the classic.
If we won the trophy, and people wanted to organise a protest for the open top bus parade, would that be acceptable?
I think there's a caveat here, and it's not me trying to wriggle out of it. I think there's a caveat. No, I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
On that day, you're going to have maybe 200,000-300,000 Spurs fans come to the area, and on that day, you're going to have people that haven't come out in a long time, grandparents, kids, people from overseas. I think on that specific day, that is a specific day of celebrating a victorious moment in the history of the club. So on that day, there's a strong argument to say, guys, not today, right? Mm-hmm. So on that occasion, I'd say no. But today isn't one of those occasions. Today isn't an event where we're celebrating some victorious thing. We haven't won anything, guys. We're drinking the champagne before we've lifted the cup. So I think you should still celebrate, should still protest, beg your pardon. But if there's a specific day dedicated to celebrating an actual trophy win, then no, I don't think they should protest on that one-off day. A bit like people who plan to protest in the streets of London on Remembrance Day. That's a specific event to commemorate the death of those who gave us freedom. Don't fucking protest today. I think there's certain times when there is a case to say, do you know what? Yeah, today don't protest.
I'm not saying
on that occasion. No.
I'm not saying it's right, but I think people might have had that logic of what you've just explained going into Spurs' first final in 6 years. So there's a time to protest, and then maybe there's a time not to. I know it's different because it's an actual trophy, but if you use the same kind of, thinking of what you've just said, maybe some fans, maybe that's where their head was at, and they thought, you know what, maybe not today, the next one is where I'll feel more emotionally charged, because let's face it, it's all about emotions. It's all about, that's what football's about, right? Being a fan, it's about being emotionally connected to something. And they might be emotionally connected to the protest, but they might be more emotionally connected to Spurs getting into that final and then being excited about that, because they've had a terrible season. It's been miserable, and maybe they want to live in that space. Not saying that it's right and not that you're wrong from what you're saying. I'm just trying to think of maybe why some of the fan base may have opted not to choose to leave their house to attend a protest, and maybe not even gone to the stadium at all, because some of the people that attend the protest, they're not necessarily season ticket holders, or the people that go to the games. A lot of the protesters that might go, they might watch it at home or watch it wherever, do you know what I mean? And so they thought, you know what, I'm not going to watch the game, but I'm not going to go to the protest either. So them not watching the game, some people like even wrote it off before the game's even kicked off. Like Sim was saying, he wrote the game off, and some fans might have been in that kind of mindset. I'm not gonna. I know a few fans that said that I'm not even gonna watch the game because I'm just, my head's not even there. I'm just about the final. I know we're gonna lose today, so it might be that. I'm not saying that's the right mentality, but that could be another factor of what you've just explained as why some of those fans never turned up. But also, just to add to that as well, not everyone has the same mentality as maybe a Sim, yourself, or an I, where they have a strong personality where they're able to deal with that kind of like insults or, people. Some people, you say something nasty to them and you think that, all right, they go home and they kill themselves. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? They haven't got that, voice in their head to kind of learn to kind of like, cope or manage those negative comments. They'll take that to their grave. Like, they'll take that, and it's not even like, some comments aren't even that deep, you know what I'm saying? But some people will magnify that in their head because of the way they've been brought up or what they've experienced in life. Do you know what I'm saying? But that's just my thoughts on it. I'm going a bit left here, innit? You know what I mean? I'm going a bit deep, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You see, so your trap is more sophisticated than Sim's, basically, right? Your trap is more advanced.
I'm just going off the back of what you said, to be fair.
I'm playing you. No, Ash, I totally agree. There's going to be fans that feel that by going to a protest today, that they're putting a negative spotlight on the club, and that they are maybe killing the vibe. And I did say there's some fans that won't be able to handle being called toxic and negative because they have a different opinion to fans. If you've got an opinion and a personality, you better strap in. If you've got an opinion and personality, good luck, because you're going to be open to all sorts. But at the same time, people with personalities, including myself, we give it as good as we get it. So you've got to be able to take it when it comes. And I think maybe some might struggle with that. But I think if you don't keep protesting, you lose momentum. And when you lose momentum, it's so hard to get it back. Because what happens is the protest then becomes more about results as opposed to the cause. So if suddenly Spurs win 2 or 3 in a row, right, don't protest now. We've got to wait until we lose 2 in a row. So you're constantly trying to pick when the club's on a downer to protest, and when the club gets a couple of good results, right, stop the protest. I don't think you can do that, because then really you don't truly believe in what you're claiming to stand for. You're just believing that, right, I'm angry because we've lost 3 games. I just want to shout and moan. Whereas if you really believe in it, the results should never drive your opinion. For me, I've always said the only time I would stop Levy out, ENIC out, is if we won a major trophy like a Premier League or a Champions League, because we've never done that in our history. And this ownership would have delivered something we've never done. Or they win back-to-back trophies over a 3-year period like we did in the 90s, in the 80s, because then that's what we were once used to. So if they can either replicate at least the past or do something I've never seen, I'll take my foot off the gas with the protest. But they've never done it. So I'll keep going and keep going until they do it or until they go, even if we don't get the numbers to back it. But no. This subject's going to split us, guys. This subject's going to split the fan base. This Levy out, ENIC out has split the fan base for the last 6 years. It's going to keep doing it. It's not going to change, I don't think.
All right, Stel, appreciate you coming on as always, mate. Appreciate the call. And look, it's all on Bilbao. All on Bilbao. Go on, what are you going to say?
Listen, all on Bilbao. I was going to say, just a reminder to all the Arsenal fans out there, North London, it's time to unite. You know, we can't have all these northern clubs winning all the trophies and all these clubs who are in the Big Six dominating football. For North London and the respect on our patch of London, it's important now that red, blue, white, we all come together and just back Tottenham in Bilbao. Just a message for all the Gooners out there. You got to North London forever. North London forever.
Big up, Stel. Nice to see you, mate. See you in a bit. That was Stelios. Let's get David on. Hi, David. Big up. Thanks for joining the show.
Hey, Sim. Hey, Ash. How you doing?
All good, Dave.
Yeah, we're doing okay. There was a bad defeat today, wasn't it? A bad performance.
Is that what happened? I completely forgot already.
Yeah, I forgot about that game. For all intents and purposes, the only game that we got coming up is Bilbao, and that's it, literally. David, how do you react to games like that when you know we've got such a massive game on the horizon, but we still have these Premier League games that we do have to play and people pay their money for, and people are gonna be upset when we play like that, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And look, I guess I'm fortunate because I can't get to the game today, so I don't have to pay the big money and deal with it on the spot. I guess for me, what concerns me the most, like when we win the Europa Cup a week from now, everything changes. And my biggest issue with today was I saw a team, which is kind of our B team really, or mostly our B team, that's not ready to play European football next year. So when we win in whatever it is, 8 days' time, we get a lot of money and we're going to be playing Champions League next year. So we're going to have all the same problems we had this year, but at a higher level. And we don't have the team for it. That's my big issue. Now, I think Andrew's learnt this year. I think he's learnt, he's doing much better with the people returning in terms of injuries. So I think he's worked on his medical staff. He's worked out how to get these guys back without causing injuries. With the injuries that have happened recently are, not ones caused by the training methods or, it's just accidents that happen on the field or accidents that happen in training. So I think Andrew's learned something this year, which is great to see some learning going on. And the team we have today, they're not ready. So we need to get, with the money that comes from the Champions League, we need to get, what do you guys think? My view right now is we need about 4 players, senior players with good experience, about £60 million each, somewhere around there. So £250 million worth of about 4 players, spread over 4 players, to get that solidity so that we can play both Premier League and Champions League next year and compete in both.
Yeah, see,
What do you guys think?
I
What,
don't
what do you
know,
think we
Yeah, I
need?
mean, I think there's a few players that probably obviously need to,
I
go.
feel like you both are still on the Ange train, so you're gonna come from the Ange perspective. So I'll come with a
100%.
different.
So I'm still
I'll come with a different.
I'm assuming Angian. Yeah,
I'm coming with a different perspective, and it's not slander on Ange, but it kind of is. But my concern today was the types of goals we conceded, regardless what players in that position. It's like a copy and paste of what's happened earlier on in the season. That's my concern. So if you give Ange 250 million, yes, he has adapted in some facets, in certain things where we've seen in Europa League, we have defended in a different way, and we've sometimes suffered without the ball, which is good that he's able to do that. But then when we play at a higher level, e.g. outside of the Europa League, as you just said, Champions League's a higher level. I'm concerned we're playing 2 games a week. And then when we, suffer suffer defeat from Champions League, accompanied with a Premier League game, are we going to employ the same mistakes, but with, the quality of player that you're talking about? It still might, the same problems might proceed. That's my worry. If I'm going to be honest, that's my concern.
If you have better players, maybe.
Yeah, because that was my thing. My thing was, if you have better players, especially in the front line, because we're so front-footed, you kind of need to give Ange like a top striker and a top winger to create and a top striker to finish it off. Do you know what I mean? The defensive part is where my concerns are still there. They haven't been put out of. They haven't, finished off at the moment. So that's where I am at. But you guys can jump in and caveat, because you guys are pretty much on the Ange train. You think with better players, I think even with better players, we wouldn't be 17th. We would probably be around the 8th to 10th.
The fact is, when we've had the Romero and Van de Ven playing, we've played 14. No, it's not been many games, but we've played 14, conceded 14. Yeah. So defense has been kind of, that defensive record's fine, really.
I don't know. I just thought, I don't know, maybe because of the defeats, it's skewed my vision a little bit. I just honestly think if Romero and Van de Ven were here, we wouldn't be 17th. But I don't think we'd be top 6 either. I don't know if that's fair to say. Do you know
maybe.
what I mean?
We will never know. But I think judging by the amount of defeats we've had, maybe not. And especially in this current moment where we're clearly prioritising Europa and stuff, like, would we keep up league standards?
So my thing is he the manager for next season, in his 3rd season? And I think 3rd season, you should be trying to progress from whether you finished in like the 1st or 2nd season. Is he the manager to get us past the top 6 realm or get us into the top 6? That's where I have question marks. That's all.
So Ash, I'm glad you're Ange out. It's good to have an Ange out person.
No, not Ange out. I'm just
but even not Ange out. It's actually
let's go Ange out. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I actually like.
Go with it.
It's actually good to have that. If you're talking with somebody who agrees with you, you don't kind of learn anything. So
yeah.
It's good. It's good to have somebody on the opposite view, so we can kind of present arguments on either side. I'm going to take a bit of a guess here. I don't know this, but it feels to me like Ange is using the Premier League now, at least the last few games, not just for getting. He's got to get. There's a few players who are rusty, and if something goes wrong in Bilbao, if we lose a player, we need somebody who's ready to go. We can't have a guy who hasn't played for 3 months because we were playing our first team only. So I think part of today was getting some of these players who haven't played enough ready in case we need them on the day. And let's face it, we lose a couple of players every bloody game, so it's highly likely we're going to need one of these players on the day. So I think that's a bit of it. But I also think, Ange, he's kind of hadn't spoken about this recently, but certainly a year ago he was talking about, he wants to prepare the team to win, to be trying to win everything. He wants to win a premiership title. Now, a lot of the alternatives people are talking about, everyone say, we want a guy who gets us in the top 6 every year. That's not what Ange is trying to do. Ange is trying to win the premiership, not getting the top 6 every year. And to do that, you've got to get your players playing a certain way, the way that he believes in. Whether he's successful or not is another question. But what he's trying to do is say, okay, this is the way we're going to play, and I want to see you playing Ange ball in some form sometimes. he stopped doing it partly because it's a cup, so he's not doing it so much in the cup. But in the league, that's what he wants to see in terms of getting to win the premiership. And I think what he proved today is he doesn't have the players for it, which is going to help him with the debate with Levy. He can say, well, Daniel, look, there's some evidence. I need some players because we're never going to win with this level of player. So give me a bit more backing. I don't think he's never going to buy the top players, but if he can buy Daniel won't let him, but if he can buy the second level players, and I don't think you need the top winger or the top striker, but if you can get Dom Solanke level, which is not quite the top, but it's pretty close across the front. And I think you need, in terms of defenders, I think Danto's really good as a backup for Romero. Although Romero's might be going, so we might have to get a replacement. But we need another Van de Ven. We need another quick player. We don't have a quick second defender. So we need a Van de Ven backup. So that way you can play, the Van de Ven backup and the Romero backup at the same time if you need to. You've got a faster guy and a more aggressive guy. You can also play the two fast ones if you want to, depending on the team you're playing, or the two defensive ones if you want to on the team. So it gives you that flexibility. We don't have a Van de Ven backup, so I want to see another quick defender come in as well. And by the way, it was good to see Kulleski in again today. I was really happy to see him there. And you watch the quality of his. A few were out, but some of the passes, one of the passes to Tell was gorgeous. Tell was offside, but his long passes are fantastic. And another thing, Van de Ven, I think he's such a quick defender. He's not been having to do it so much recently, which is great to see. He's thinking a bit more. But his passing is underrated. His long passing on the ground is pinpoint accurate. I think it doesn't get mentioned enough. I think his Van de Ven's passing is really, really solid. So there's a whole kind of bunch of things in there. But yeah, as an engine person, what I'm looking at is, there was evidence today that he's trying to get them to play a certain way as well as getting the rust out of them. And he's proven that this team is not ready. This squad of players is not ready to play Champions League and Premier League next year. And the only way to do it, what was missing for me today was seniority. There was nobody controlling the game on our side, and the youngsters, they're trying their best. They're running around, but they don't have the experience. And you need a bunch of players in there who can say, look, calm down, guys. Let's get our structure back. We can still try to play handball, but we've got to do it within a certain structure. And we've lost all the structure at the moment. And we just don't have that seniority at the moment. And that's why I said, 4 senior players, because the first team's quite good. We just need that second level so that when we're playing Champions League and Premier League week in, week out, after we win at Bilbao, that which I think we're going to do. By the way, I said to you guys, a month or so ago, I said, look, we're going to win at Frankfurt, we're going to win and everyone's like, no, this guy's delusional. What's he talking about? He's been taking Sims drugs. But here we are, and everyone's saying, well, now we're going to lose this game. Well, you've been saying that for a month. We're going to win this game. We're going to get the money from the Champions League. So now we've got to plan for that. What are we going to do? So that's my version of the future. And by the way, Ash, if he wins Europa League, do you give him the Super Cup? Because with Paratici coming in potentially, I'm not sure if that's signed yet, but if he wins, do you wait until the Super Cup, or do you give him the first 10 games of next season?
When is the Super Cup? When is it?
August, I think.
Yeah, no. I mean, me personally, if you're gonna make that change, you make that change as soon as possible, because you need that new coach who's coming in to get the players that he needs for his philosophy, or for his, not philosophy, for the players that he envisions working within his frameworks. You need to kind of give him, the summer. I remember Poch was arguing that he wanted players to Levy in before August so they could have a pre-season with him. And that was a big problem. He used to bring players in after August because it was cheaper on the wages. You don't have to pay them a whole month's salary for August or July, because it's pre-season starts in July. You wouldn't have to bring him in July. You could just pay him for August and you'd save money that way. And so, yeah, that was Poch's argument when he was like, I want players bedded in. So if it was a new coach, I want that new coach in as soon as possible. If they identify early, I know they're not very good at doing that. And then get those players in ready for that coach, and then the Super Cup. would be for the new coach, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that argument.
But that's just that's my logic. You know, I'm not saying my logic is right, or do you know what I'm saying? Or you guys are wrong. That's just my thoughts of it when I break it down in my head, like, and I try to kind of not mathematically, but just piece it together piece by piece, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess I probably agree with you. If you're sure you're not going to give him the league, then yeah, even if he wins the Europa League,
you give him the hero
Super Cup
send-off that he needs. You know, fans might not be happy with it. Like, see, leave, he's done it again, blah, blah, blah. But at least he can go with his head held high, and he can find another club where he can be successful. Because then he might have a chairman that does, you know, back him in the way that you said he should be, with the top 4 senior players and that players that can play the Ange ball, with both fullbacks, you know, pressing up high, maybe inverting at times, or maybe not inverting, but you know, just wherever he wants to play, with players rotating in that possession style play, fast forward thinking, fluid football. You know, you've got a ball behind them that can fully like get behind it, like he had at Celtic, like he had at other clubs as well. For example.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Ange needs the top players.
I remember you saying that. So
yeah, I don't think he needs the top players, but he does need the level just below that to do what he wants to do, I think. Yeah.
All right, David, we are going to have to move on, unfortunately, but I appreciate you giving your time and calling in.
Big up, David, man.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you.
Good to see you, boys.
Going to see you after the game, Bilbao. Big up.
Big up, David.
Come on. Let's move on. We got 60-yard box in the background.
Yes,
Big up.
Big up, man. What's going on?
What's up?
Nice to see you, my friend. How are we doing today? And it's another poor performance, another bad defeat. But is it a case of we've got bigger things to think about, or are these Premier League defeats, you know, getting too much to take?
You don't want to lose. You don't want to lose games, you know. But you know, it is where we are now. It is what it is, and you know, the players are not good enough, basically, to be honest. I don't think any manager can come in and, you know, with these same players, with the level of this player, not all of them, basically, some of them, not every single one of them, but we know who they are, unless we're kidding ourselves, to be honest. You know, and if you look at it, this is when we were losing games, even in the league, when we're losing games, man, you can look at this same kind of the players we're using now. There are similarities between the two sets of players as well. So, you know, when we were playing in the league and we had the injuries and we were playing, you know, the Danso, Ben Davies, and blah 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 blah. You know, we were not playing really well. So, it is what it is. The squad is not good enough. You know, I think we all know that. You know, and we're in a situation where we have to prioritize, you know, the league and the Europa League, which is just it's sad, really, to be honest. You know, but it is what it is, and but I've got a good feeling about the Europa League. I think I've always said, you know, Frankfurt, I was confident, both legs. Bodo, I was confident as well. There was a lot of noise about the pitch and all that kind of stuff. And when we beat them, people are saying, "Oh, you know what? They're playing the Farmers League." You know, but you know, it's just the way it is. And you can see the manager. He was saying something. I think I saw something he said in the press conference. He said, he was saying something about, you know, our form in the league has made us to be that. He said because we are our form in the league has affected the way we are prioritizing now, which you know, there's both are really linked together, you know, and because we don't have the squad. Even January we were rushing around last minute signing down. So I'm not saying he's a bad player, but these are guys that have not even played regular football, and then we just threw them into a Premier League campaign, you know, where we're struggling, you know. And I think I read somewhere where somebody said, I'm not sure if this is true, they said our back four against Bodo and in the Europa League later stages, Bodo and Frankfurt, I think somebody said this is the 6th or 7th time they've played together. our back five.
Of this season.
Yeah, I think somebody said it. I'm not sure if that's true. Somebody can check it because I'm not into all these stats crap. So, but it's just it is a bad season, but it could still be a good season, and we can separate the two. We don't have to say, oh, one. We give him credit for finishing 17th, and people are saying, oh, it's a record. We're losing another game. This is the worst season ever. We've lost 22 games. We're gonna get a trophy for that or something. Why is it? It's just stats, really. To be honest, at the end of the day, next season, if we fly up the table and win the Champions League or finish top 4, whatever, people be running around with the trophy for finishing 17th. So it's a season. The chapter closes. We move on. For me, it's a win-win for me. Really, we win that Champions League, the Europa League, and next season they sack him. They don't sack him. I don't care because for me, we don't have control over that, at the end of the day, they can do whatever they want, really. So, but if they sack him, there's hope again for the next manager that comes in. Everybody's like excited again until we go through the same cycle again.
When you say a chapter, this season's been difficult and the chapter's closing, and do you think, regardless what happens, do you think the chapter's going to close on Ange at the end of this season?
I wish I could see into a crystal ball right now, but to be honest, I don't know. Because if he wins the cup, I don't think nobody will forget about him. No manager, no fan will forget about Ange if he wins that Europa League. And if I was him personally, if I win that cup, I'm dropping the mic and I'm just leaving. To be honest, I'll just walk away from it because what's going to happen again? We know the way this club is, the way they run this club. We know it's around the corner again. We know what's going to happen. We can't just tell. So all this last minute buying, rushing around, last minute buying players. Managers are pushed into a corner whereby they always settle for the second best player, or they want to prove something as well. They want to prove that, I can really do this. So most managers are very proud. They go, you give me, any player, I can prove that I can win something with them. And you can see Ange is really passionate as well about the club, He's somebody that you can tell that he's really passionate about the club. And even, I don't think he's happy about the season. He won't be happy about the season, but sometimes when you're trying to build something, you take a step back. You have a bad season, and then you decide, oh, this bad season, am I going to rip everything up again and get someone else new? And by the way, the new person coming in, he's going to go like, oh, I'm going to give all these players a new, wipe the board clean, and let's start all over again. So, you're building something and you're ripping it up, and you're starting all over again. That's the bit I don't really like. So, but they have to make the decision at the end of it. But I've just got the feeling that when we play our football the way we play, we can beat anybody. And people saying today, okay, we could have played, sit at the edge of our box, defend, put 500 guys behind the ball, and then when we get the ball, just lump it forward and try and get a goal out of that. Are we really going to win the game that way? Is that guaranteed a win? Can fans watch that for 90 minutes when they pay good money and we end up losing it at the end of it? It's always good to go hindsight and say, oh, you know what, we could have done it. But the players, some of the players, they're just not good enough. Today, people saying we were open. Some of the goals they scored today, they are just not quick enough at the back. Danso, Ben Davies, Spence, positioning is wrong. Going forward is like, you just and the other guy, I agree with David. He said something about these players have not played enough regularly. They are not good enough, but at least when they play together regularly in a match setting, you can get that rhythm and you can get that understanding. If you watch Ben Davies and Danso, there's always one in front of the other, whereby there should be one person controlling that back four. They are always just all over the place, really. So You know, it's but I know personally, if we play our first 11 regularly, maybe with 1 or 2 changes, we are not going to be 17th. I know that for a fact. I know people. I think when we lost to Ipswich, we were like 3 to 6 points from top 4 or top 6 or something. I can't remember then. So, but it is what it is, man. It is what it is. We just have to wait for this cup, basically. And I've got a good feeling about Europa League.
100%, me too. 6-yard box, good to speak to you, mate. Thanks for calling in.
Big up,
and
man.
we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, guys.
Big up, man.
Nice to see you, mate. That was 6-yard box. Is that it? One sec. Because Brian Dagger might call in.
Oh, that's it. I'm gonna cut, man.
Is he? Did he join? Yeah, just joined. All right, let's talk to Brian, and that'll be the last one. You can look if you need to go. You can go. No problem.
The game's still going, so that's cool.
All right, let's get the man, the myth, the legend, the great, the insatiable. Brian Daigle is in the house. How are we doing, Brian?
Big up.
Take me back off and let Sim say more wonderful things. And also, let me just say thank you, Ashmatic, for delaying your departure.
No problem. I just didn't want to miss some of that sun. It's a sexy Sunday.
Oh, mate, it's lovely here as well. How are you both and everyone in the chat?
Yeah, we're doing okay. Wasn't a great game today, was it? Let's be honest. It was another shambolic performance. Another performance we deserved to lose.
Yeah.
When you are watching that, Brian, what are your feelings? Is it a case of it doesn't matter because we're going to Bilbao, or does it matter?
It's a bit of both, but the thing that, as much as I am annoyed with Ange Postecoglou, as much as I'm annoyed that why can't he use some of his European away day formation and tactics for Premier League games and adapt in the Premier League? And I actually think if he did do that in the Premier League, we'd probably be a lot higher up the table. Would have had 20 league defeats, and the team would get into some kind of rhythm regardless of who plays. But as much as we can all go on about Ange and everything today, I don't even really want to. Obviously, people know my feelings towards him, and a lot of people. I want to talk about 2 things really, and one will be the Tottenham Hotspur players, and second, change for Spurs and this weak fan base. This spineless, toothless fan base. But we'll start with the players. We'll start with the players. Now, I grew up of an age when you were watching football, if your team had got to a final, or let's just say England or whatever nationality you are, and you follow before a World Cup and a Euros tournament, if you were on the peripheries and you were called up and you got a chance, you grabbed that chance and did all you can to put in the performance of a lifetime to make the manager pick you to go on that World Cup trip with your country or Euros trip, or in this case, to force your way into a final, to play for that shirt in the final, to represent Tottenham Hotspur. There were lots of changes there today, which we all knew were coming, so we can't be. But you would think that they played this formation and system 36 games, whether it be injuries, whatever. You have a chance now in these 2 games, which, let's face it, the mainstay players will be heavily rested. You've got a chance to go, Ange Postecoglou, you may have forgotten about me. Here I am, this is what I can do. And each and every one of them were abysmal today. Abysmal. Crystal Palace, we can go through we've only got 1 game a week. They're playing an FA Cup final next week. And normally you're saying, normally the excuse would be if they had lost, those players weren't playing correct because they didn't want to get an injury for the final. They didn't want to risk getting hurt for the final or whatever. Crystal Palace tore us to smithereens, ripped us to shreds. The first half was bad. But like I said, I'm not even here to talk about Ange Postecoglou. This is on the players. Yes, we can say the formation. We've been here, done that, tried it. These players just don't care. They just walk around. Have you ever seen our midfield so open? Gray had an opportunity to impress in this position. Everyone complete. I was one of the ones that said Ange Postecoglou threw him under a bus playing him at Liverpool. Well, home to Palace, you should be able to do something or feel a lot more comfortable and be able to put in a performance. You didn't. Spence has been, listen, his form has been questionable the last few weeks. No matter whether he's played at left back, right, the players just simply aren't putting it in. And as much as I would love to sit here and go nuts at Ange Postecoglou and go, he's done it again. The only thing I'll say with Ange is, why has he gone back to a formation? If we're in a European final, you'd think we'd be playing the way we played against Frankfurt and Bodo. So you've got these games to find the team you want to choose from the fringe players and get them used to playing that away day Europe formation to hopefully beat United with that kind of performance. And I seriously think if we had played that kind of style more often, we might be doing better. But no, it just wasn't good enough, was it, Simarash?
No, it was shocking. There's no doubt about it. I think going into this game, we knew there was going to be many changes, and we knew that it was probably going to lead to a highly disjointed performance. I was hoping it wasn't going to be that much of a mismatch, but that's what it was, especially Decky going off early as well.
Yep.
That probably hurt us as well. We ended up with 14.
Sorry to cut off there. Has there been, since I've been travelling home from the yard, has there, Ange or the club said anything about, was Decky a precautionary or?
Ange has said that it looks like it's just a knock and he should be okay. That's what he said.
Okay.
But
Well, that's
hopefully
something.
it's all right. Which is probably the right thing to take him off if there's any doubt. But obviously we ended up having 4 teenagers on the pitch, didn't we? For a lot of that game, backed up by Dan and Davis at the back, and obviously a young keeper in goal as well. And Palace, whatever you want to say about them, that was pretty much their first choice team, wasn't it? That's probably going to play the final. So they were much more settled in it, and it definitely showed. But it's hard to still watch that game and find many positives when trying to look forward.
I think the only positive you can find is that hopefully Decky is only a knock.
I actually thought Odebear in the 10 wasn't terrible. I thought he looked a bit better in the 10.
Yeah, but Sim, that's where we are now, isn't it? He looked a bit better in the 10. That's where we are in the Premier League now. I think when Odebear went to the 10, he looked a little bit better. That's where we are. And listen, I personally think Odebear can become in a few years an important player to Tottenham. But how many players have we got that it's going to be important in a few years that they might be good, and when we're probably on our 5th manager in that time, it just blows my mind. It is just a shame, like I said, that you would have thought, like I said at the beginning, when a Europa League final spot is up for grabs in certain positions, or maybe even positions that are pretty much nailed down, let me put in a goddamn performance to give Ange Postecoglou something to worry about. Or think about. Let me try and force my way in and show that I'm good enough and I can stand up to the test. And they just jogged around like it was a game at Hackney Marshes.
Do you think it was the right decision to rest so many players?
Joe, I was surprised he played Porro. I was surprised he played. The one thing I think I was discussing it with Ben as well, with Kulleski. Yeah, I was speaking with Ben about this last night. With Kulleski, I mean, it's all paramount now incidental now that he went off. But I was saying to Ben, and I asked you two and people in the chat, if you had, with Decky, would you have thought it would have been best to wrap him in cotton wool and maybe give him 5-10 minutes sub of each game and let him completely refresh and be 100% ready, as in energy-wise? Or do you think you should have started him and tried to play him into form and give him the minutes? Because I would have been more on the first. I think he still might be carrying a little knock or niggle, and maybe a longer rest so he would have been energised and ready may have been better than trying to play him into form. I mean, I don't know what you two think.
I thought actually play him into form, because there's no point wrapping him in cotton wool if he's going to not play well. You know what I mean?
But
We
see, what I'm
need
saying is
him
maybe
playing
he's
well.
still not 100% match fit, and the rest.
Even more so than you need to play him more.
Yeah, I mean, it's 6 and 1 and a half a dozen the other, isn't it? Really. I can see your point of it, but you could see these changes. If anything, I was a little bit disappointed we didn't get to see like a Ajayi more for long. All right, we got to see more for obvious reasons. I don't know why Dane Scarlett didn't even get on the bench. It was just confusing. But listen, we knew that this was going to happen, and there's a lot of people going, "Yeah, Premier League results don't matter because we're in the final." That's where we are as a club right now. But what I would have expected, win, lose or draw, is that the players put in a shift, win, lose or draw, and gave Ange some thinking to do for Villa, and then the final to go. Do you know what? Maybe my first team isn't as set in stone as I originally thought. But we're 17th now because of West Ham doing. Oh, by the way, what's the field score?
It's 2-2 now.
Oh, you're joking. I should never have left the yard. It was 2-0 when I left. It's my fault.
Absolutely.
It's my fault. But yeah, the other thing I just wanted to talk about was listen, there's some people there's no, it's not even the protest. What got me is the irony of this fan base. And when I'm talking about the fan base, people will understand I'm talking about particular sections of this fan base. Change for Tottenham organised another protest. And when they organise these things, a lot of time, work, effort goes for people that just turn up to the protest because they want to lend support and everything. Brilliant, fantastic. You just turn up on the day, everything is catered for. The meeting place, the time, the banners, the hard work, the effort, the money that people put in, their own, everything they put in. They have to organise these things in advance. They can't just go, "Oh, turn up tomorrow, we're doing this." There needs to, obviously, we didn't know that we'd get through to the final. It was 50-50. If we hadn't have gone through, everyone had gone, "Yeah, let's do this, blah, 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 blah." Then we got through to a final. And then this whole thing, "Oh, we've got to back the team, we've got to back them, we've got to do this, we've got to show our support," when this has never been anything about the players. Anything ever to do with the players. Bear in mind, on the 2 protests that Change for Spurs have done, we've won both games. And the team has been supported the whole game. But they said, no, don't do it at half-time. It's a disgrace. Oh, my God, don't do this. It's really bad. Back the team, back the lads. So Change for Spurs, listen to the fans. Do that. And then the biggest irony, 2-0 and playing shit, thousands leave early. So it's you go get your train. So it's okay. Don't protest against the board at half-time, which this whole thing was about the board, because we have to back the players through thick and thin. They need us now. But then thousands of you leave early. Oh, the irony of it all. The irony, but if Change for Spurs or people that want to protest against the board, negative, toxic, get behind the lads. It's all about that, never backing the lads. Well, why didn't you back the lads? Why did you leave early? Everyone had a go at Danny leaving at whenever he left at half-time at Southampton. "Oh, you're not a real fan, you left early, it's negative." Everyone going at Danny Kiriakou and other fans. But the fans that say, "Oh, back the team, this is it," we'll leave before the game. We'll leave before the game finishes, but that's okay because we're in a final. The irony of this fan base. Like I said, everyone has their right to do whatever, but don't go having a massive dig at Change for Tottenham for all the hard work they've done and everything they do, and then they listen to the fans and do what the fans, what a majority asks, just to see that happen. It's bullshit. It's utter bullshit. But it's not negative because we didn't sing a Levy song. We'll just turn up back on the team and walk out early. But that's okay.
In terms of the protest today, Brian, I wasn't there, obviously. Stel was saying he's heard about, it's much smaller turnout today than...
Oh, there's a much... Listen, I've seen a few pictures. There's a much smaller turnout. Smaller than I actually would have thought. But hey-ho. It's okay. We're just remember, we're in a final. 20 league defeats, 17th in the league, all of the other stuff, it doesn't matter. because we are in a final. That I did listen. Whatever people want to think, but I just don't like it when people are so big to criticize people like myself and all the hard work that goes in. Like I said, as you know, Sim, as you know, Asthmatic, I've arranged protests. I've stood outside in the freezing cold in January. I've done things. I've walked the walk, talked the talk. I've flown home from Canada to be there. And I stand by my beliefs. And then you've got people that think it's just, oh no, the amount of time that Jay and all the lads that Change for Spurs and ladies put in at Change for Tottenham to organise such things, to do such things, respond via email, social media, go on streams, do this, do that, do all the stuff to get it in the media. That's their own time. Forget what they've got to do with their jobs, their family life, and everything else. Forget all that. They just think it's like that. Oh, we'll turn up, let's have a pro. So, whereas people can say yes or where people can say, yeah, I'm going to attend it or not, don't start saying, oh, we've got to back the team, we've got to back the lads, don't do this at half time, put your agendas aside or whatever, or your other beliefs behind, support the team, we've got to show them a sort of stadium was blooming quiet as anything for a majority of the game, and then you leave before the final whistle, but have a go at Change for Tottenham for trying to do something at half time for 10 minutes. Come on, there's people say
what do you say to fans who argue a few days after getting to a European final for, you know, first one in 6 years and on the cusp of potentially our first European trophy in 40 years, that maybe it's not the right time to be protesting?
No, I'm not. Sim, like I've just said, don't have a go at them for trying to arrange it, and then they listen to the fans and go, do you know what, fans, you're right. Let's support the team. They listen to the fans. One thing that Change for Tottenham do, they listen and take on board what the fans say. They do what the fans say, and then the fans throw it in their face and leave before the end. I get that. I was even speaking to her. I said, do you know what? The march's probably good. You got to keep going. But what you've got to try and do, don't get me wrong, people like myself and people that have as strong an opinion as me, I would have stood out in the second half. If I'd ever stepped foot in that stadium again, if I was there, I'd stay in the concourse. But they listen to the fans because it's not people like me they need to try and get to join them. It's people that are either on the fence or the opposite of myself or still think Levy's doing a good job and still think the club are going in the right direction. That's the people they've got to try and entice. And a large section of them, of those people on the other side of the fence, were, don't do this. We have to stay and support the boys through thick and thin. So they listened and said, right, we're not doing this part, and fair play to them for listening to the fans. And then the very same fans that wanted them to do it, support the team, support the lads, leave before the final whistle.
Fair enough.
That's fair.
That's fair. It's a fair criticism.
That's all there is to it. If you're going to do something, stick to it. And that's all it is. But like I said, as you've seen, I've not even spoken about Ange, apart from the tactics that I thought I'd like to see him do what he's done in Europa, a little bit more in the Premier League. But these players, who should be absolutely busting a gut to try and get into that Europa League finals starting 11, have done the exact opposite.
And that's what Ange said after the game. He was very disappointed with some of the players who didn't step up when given the opportunity.
And you know what? Ange Postecoglou, absolutely bang on the money. Absolutely bang on the money. And I will say his press conference after the Europa League and his talk to the team, outstanding. Outstanding. And what he's just said, like you said, that these players, bang on the money. Bang on, like I said, I'm as much as people can say Ange tactics, whatever, as much as Ange needs to take responsibility for allowing the players to do this, these players have let themselves down badly today. Badly.
All right, but we got a big one. Well, we've got one more Premier League game, then the big one. So
Yeah.
Hopefully, we can put all these to one side and everyone can get behind it. What's called, we can have a positive mindset going into Bilbao. But yeah, at the moment, it's hard to watch these games, isn't it, Brian, and feel positive.
Yeah, well, that's it, mate. I mean, Aston Villa, let's hope there are changes. But I would hope he would play the Aston Villa game with the tactics and the personnel, or not the personnel, we want rested, but you'd think they'd play with the tactics they'd want to play on Thursday, wouldn't you? I mean, Wednesday. You'd think he's got 2 games to prepare for Europe. So, league position's done. Like, what is it? What's the highest we can finish now without defeat?
13th, maybe?
13th, big deal, big whoop. At least use it so the players have some kind of idea and understanding of how they're going to play Wednesday. Sorry, it's so frustrating. I keep wanting to say Thursday. Wednesday.
All right. Brian, we're going to have to go, but appreciate you calling,
guys.
mate. Nice
up,
to see you.
Big up, big up.
Love
See you
to you,
later,
Brian.
people.
Nice to see you, mate.
Peace.
All right, and that is the last call. Thank you, everyone, for joining the fan show and everyone, all the callers and everything. Ash,
Yes.
by the way, everyone go and subscribe to Spurs Kings TV. The link is right now in the title of the video.
Yes,
so
please.
go click on Spurs Kings TV. Give him a subscribe. Show him some love. Want to tell people what is maybe coming up on Spurs Kings TV?
Yeah, we've got a show Tuesday. We're going to talk about the up-and-coming games. Try not to look back at this one too much. I'm sure that'll be part of the discussion. But yeah, we're going to look at all things coming into the summer window now as well. Who should stay? Who should go? I mean, and players coming in. Like, you know, can we improve on what we have? Like the callers were saying about senior players. Can we get any senior players to improve on what we have? But yeah, that's coming up, man. That's what we've got coming on.
Big up to you, Ash. Thank you for joining me for, seeing through this for me.
Yeah, no
through
problem.
this game. Big up to everyone who tuned into the watch along, who's liked the stream, interacted. We'll be back tomorrow with all the further analysis from Ben in the studio with the game, talking about the game today, and looking forward as well to the Villa and Bilbao games. But big up to everyone in the chat. We'll see you very, very soon. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
Come on, you Spurs.